Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's something a little bit different. Figured I'd give a quick walk around of my old Yamaha here. You might have seen it in the background of some of the other videos, but this one's about the closest thing to being finished in my garage. Needs a little bit of TLC here and there, but it does run and ride. I'm not a huge motorcycle guy, if you can tell, mostly trucks, but it's something fun to get out and cruise around on a nice day. And yeah, I've put a lot of work into it, and I'll give you a quick overview of what I did. So when I got this bike, it did not run. It was kind of in pieces. I'll try and find an old picture of it when I first got it and put it up now. But for the most part, it was kind of a basket case. I got it from a friend of mine, thanks Zach. And he was kind of tired of messing with it, had a bunch of carb issues, had sat for quite a while with some ethanol in the carbs and ate away at them. So I'm still in the process of sorting those out, but it does run and ride, and I made quite a few upgrades along the way. We'll just kind of start at the front. Of course, front's pretty much stock. I did take the fender off of it, painted the lower forks black. Other than that, stock gold wheels. I do have some tires to put on it, just haven't got around to it. Moving up from there, just decluttered quite a bit. Took some of the badging off up here and a few of the chrome bits. I put a Harley LED high and low beam headlight in it, and also painted the bezel on it black. Left the chrome. I do like a little bit of chrome, but I wanted more black than anything. Also same with the gauge pods. Those are the factory gauge pods for it. Just scuffed them down. They were originally chrome and painted those black. After that, I moved on, put some different bars on it, still the factory controls on both sides, put some grips on it and some bar end mirrors, but for the most part it's pretty much stock. From there, pulled the tank off, gave it the rust treatment. Left the gold. I was debating for a long time on the factory gold. This bike came with a ton of gold on it. You'll see accents all over the place. Already saw the wheels, some of the brakes there, but there's gold everywhere. I really didn't like it at first. I was going to go black with it, and over the years here I've got talked into leaving it, and part of it is I just am lazy and have other projects to do, so I haven't messed with it. But let the tank rust, and then gave it that satin clear coat finish. You can't see much of it from here, but I heavily modified the factory air box to allow more flow, put a foam filter in it, the older style foam filter instead of the paper filter. Moving on to the engine, I actually have the factory coil covers on it, but underneath there are, I believe they were Suzuki coils, which allowed me to do away with the factory plug wires that were the resistor type plug wires and go to an aftermarket plug wire. And all I did there was just took some out of an old Accel kit that I had and used those so I could run a resistor type spark plug instead of the non-resistor. Haven't done too much to the engine other than the ignition upgrades, a little bit of filter, and some jetting on the carbs. I did delete the EGR system, or whatever it is, air injection system, that never works on these bikes anyway, and of course built some exhaust for it. I built that from scratch. I used the stock head pipe there and also the stock head pipe back there, and rerouted them down, took the original muffler out from underneath there, and from about there back is all straight pipe. Just made a little bracket. The two pipes bolt together with the little bracket. It's actually a little loose, but it's got rubber bushing here, so it soaks up some of that vibration. Did upgrade to new AGM battery. One of the main problems this bike had when I first got it, along with the carb issues, was that it would not charge. So I replaced the regulator as well as the stator on the other side. Walk over here, stator's down underneath that cover, had to tear that whole side case off. Went through everything there, got it charging up. The regulator, you can see there, I have it sitting on a little custom mount that used to bolt right back here with the factory passenger pegs. Of course, I've deleted those because it's just a bobber now, and so I didn't have anywhere to mount that, so I built a little bracket to mount that to, and also relocated the ignition module up on the back side of the battery box. Before I forget and get to the back of the bike, I wasn't really happy with the factory foot pegs. I don't mind the factory controls at all, but the factory foot pegs I didn't care for. The rubber was deteriorating on them. You can see that the shifter is missing a little bit as well, but I went to these motocross style pegs and had to modify them a little bit to get them to fit, but otherwise retain the factory hardware, factory spring, and they still pivot like they should. From there, wouldn't be a bobber without a bobber seat. It's just a cheap eBay bobber seat kit that I modified to fit. I did welded into this backbone of the frame, the lower mount, so that the seat mount could mount in there. It, unlike what most people do, mine is firmly mounted. It is sprung though, and probably the most common thing I see asked when people are talking about these Virago bobbers is, what did you do on the back end? Now, something I did a little different than most people do is I rounded off the frame, capped it all, and built some plates to enclose this whole thing. While I was doing that, I also took the shock mount off and cut it away from the frame here and raised the whole mount up to lower the bike some. So the other thing you can see that I've done is mounted some tabs down in here on the frame rail that would accept these style springs. So it doesn't give me a lot, but it gives me more than none, and since it's not a rigid bike, it rides pretty well. And from there, all I did was, those are the factory coilovers on it. I just painted the caps on them black. I thought that was enough. I don't mind the little bit of chrome, a little bit of silver on it. But of course on the back, you got the side mounted plate with the brake light. Nowhere else to really mount the brake light here. So something you may notice is these little strips, and those are little LED strips, which are my running lights and my turn signals. And they, of course, they come on with the brake like normal. So I'll show you those real quick. So there it is with both those on. I did have to get a replacement flasher for it, the LED style. It's tucked in the wiring down under the seat, but it's the adjustable kind where I can change the speed on it. So if you see, you can see the front ones there. I'll come back up to the front, but they're switchback LEDs. So when they're on, they flash amber, and then when they're off, they go back to red. And then the fronts are the same way as well, except they are white and act as running lights. And then of course with the turn signals on, they switch to amber. Go back. I thought those were pretty neat and a good way to disguise it and make it look like I have no marker lights and no turn signals from the outside. Just a nice clean look. And coming back to the rear here, you can see the fender is actually just the factory fender that I shortened down. You can kind of see down in there I made some tabs to hold it up at the front. That's the same on both sides. Actually get a little bit better look at that mount for the regulator as well. Of course, again, let this rust up. I did section this fender and shorten it down so I could retain this little bit of the factory body line. I thought that was something a little bit different, a little bit neat. But I did take and cut the sides so it's a nice even radius all the way around. Otherwise it was coming clear down to here and had a goofy swoop in it that I didn't like. So same thing as the tank, let it sit and rust up. This one for some reason got a little rough, but clear coated over it anyway, and it just adds to the look, so nothing I'm too worried about. You can see on this side, this is where normally all the air injection or EGR, whatever you want to call it, is. It's a big chrome thing, just like the air cleaner box, but it's all hidden in there. You can see I still have the hoses kind of hanging out here. They don't stick out too bad, so I just leave them for now, but in the future I may do something different, shorten those up or put them into a breather of some kind. But I also plan on probably in the future doing away with this factory air cleaner. Yamaha did. There's a little weird where you can see that hose and the clamp right back there. It actually goes up through the frame, comes back down, and that's what these boots are here, is that goes into that carb. And there's another one on the other side as well. So it makes it a little tricky to run any type of pod filter or aftermarket filter for these. That'll pretty much do it for this bike. Like I said, there is some future upgrades that I'm looking to make. Maybe switching to a single carb versus the dual carbs. These things are still giving me fits after a couple years of owning this bike and getting it to the point where it is, but it's, like I said, it's still good enough that I can ride it around some and enjoy it. It is pretty nice to ride. Guys, if you guys dig this thing, go down, make sure to leave me a like. If you want to see more content on the bike, leave a comment down below, whatever you want. Yeah, hopefully in the future I'll get some action shots of it out cruising, ripping around, having a little fun with it. So like I said, if you want to see more of it, make sure you leave me a comment down below. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.